You're welcome. I'm Charles Aite. Dark days ahead for gas prices. Global oil prices have exceeded $100 per barrel, and already avenues for renewables as a substitute are less viable. To help us appreciate what we must look out for as a consumer here in Ghana is petroleum expert Dr. Sulemana Yusuf. We're grateful that you could join us. Paint us a vivid picture of how things are faring on the global market.
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers in Ghana and then across the globe. Yeah, so from the global perspective, it's something that is not one of an interesting development, because as we speak now, just before even the Russian crisis, I think the oil prices came close to 100. It was 97. And so this crisis just came to exacerbate the situation. But globally, what was the phenomenon, or what was the outlook like before the Russian crisis? Actually, we have a reduced investment into the world of hydrocarbon, as we always been saying. After the COVID, I think investment into the upstream actually hasn't come back to the normal footing where it is supposed to be. And this has also resulted in the fact that shale patch in US, who used to be a credible counterbalancing force that could, nullify OPEC dominance in terms of how much prices they can set. They also don't have access to it because they are pursuing what you call capital discipline, and they're interested in returning profit to the shareholders. And also we have OPEC cut that is still in place. Albeit OPEC cut is gradually looking not a credible factor that could impact oil price, because just yesterday they met again. And what came out was the fact that they are sticking to the supply cap, even when the upstream is burning and burning seriously. So what is a fact is what is factual is that, I mean, even OPEC, whatever they have asked, whatever they've agreed to release into the global basket, in fact, they have not been able to meet that. Russia, as a significant player or a lead member of OPEC Plus, or in fact, they are the de facto leaders of OPEC, they haven't been able to meet even their production target, whatever they can release into the global basket for the last 3 months. And all these are, picture of the fact that, yes, supply is gradually trying to catch up with demand. I mean, but it's not yet there. I mean, we are not yet there yet. So demand is, the gap between demand and supply is getting wider and wider. And that is not a good picture globally. And so what will have counterbalanced this would have been massive investment into the world of hydrocarbon, and as well as maybe some bit of renewables. So when hydrocarbon side is getting heated up, we can have a second resource, which is the renewable. But that is not something sustainable. Now, coming back to detailed, the Russian crisis. Yeah. So as we speak now, Charles, sanctions have not been placed on the entire on the energy sector on Russia directly. Yet we are having oil price around 115. But the situation is, because of these sanctions that are placed on some banks, and also the fact that some of the banks have been taken off from SWIFT, which is quite significant. And so what we are seeing now is an indirect impact of this kind of sanctions on Russia. And so we haven't direct impact yet. That's why we are a bit, I'm saying that the global picture is not a very brighter one. Hopefully, the best thing is that cool heads will prevail. If cool heads will prevail. If that happens, have a grip of what the outlook is going to be like. Otherwise, the longer this conflict prolong and persists, the worse the situation could become.
But Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, it also begs the question, why can renewables substitute the demand?
That's an excellent one. That's what everybody would have wished at this moment. But there's something that we don't have to hide away from. I think our approach for this energy transition has been very problematic from day one. And I've mentioned that, I think at this stage, we have to invest into what we call R&D, research and development into the world of renewable, so that we can have breakthrough technologies that can deliver renewable energy to the end user at competitive rates. Our problem is renewable at this stage is not a credible replacement for hydrocarbon. And why am I saying that? When I say credible replacement, a replacement that is dependable, a replacement that is available, and a replacement that is affordable. If we take all these three things I talked about, none of them is working to the favor of renewables. Renewables are not that dependable as we speak. UK or the Europe, well of European Union, I mean the European Union or the Europe in general, who are the forefront or the champions of renewable energy, you can see the vulnerabilities as a result of this Russian crisis. Europe cannot place sanctions on Russian energy sector, not because of Russia. It's because of their own consumers. They cannot just do that, because if they do that, Russia begin to even also retaliate by cutting gas supply. that is going to be serious for them.
You have been dealing with the numbers for quite a while now, examining the trends in the oil market. What will be the effect in Ghana, and how can it be remedied?
Yeah, the effect is straight and direct. We're going to have high pump prices. There's no two ways about that. And even minus Russian prices, I told you that the trend has been that. I mean, we had a lot of bullish sentiments that is taking over the market as compared to the bearish sentiment. Yeah. So, but the Russian price just making the situation worse. So in Ghana, what do we have to do? I mean, a couple of things which I mentioned, and I'll just repeat them again. I mean, we cannot continue to depend on external factors to guarantee us our energy security. We cannot do that. But when oil prices are going up, of course, upstream we stand a better chance of gaining, and that's undoubtedly. So can't we work out a strategy whereby any potential windfalls, which we do have at the moment, we can cascade it to the downstream side to cool down the pumps. Because at the end of the day, it's not the energy sector is not a segregated entity where upstream is different place and downstream is different place. You can be making gains at the upstream, but if you don't manage it well at the downstream, everything will fizzle. And that's what is happening with goods and services going so high. So yes, there are going to be trade-offs, and the trade-offs are that the government has to give out something. Is it going to be in the form of taxes? Is it going to be in the form of this windfall that I talked about? That has to be done. Something has to be done immediately. If not that, I think we're going to see hard times coming before we can get cool things coming. The second and most important one is refining capability, Charles. Very important. If you manage to have a local robust refining capability, the kind of dollars, the hard currency we put on the pressure we put on the CD, where the CD is struggling to survive in this hard time, I think it will minimize. I'm not saying refining will bring down the cost of product, but it will stabilize. This kind of volatility that we have, I mean, that local refining will help, stabilize those kind of things that we have.
Speaking about the need for governments to intervene, we do know that government has hinted on opening cabinet discussions over a possible relief for consumers in the form of subsidies. How sustainable can this be?
Yeah, so immediate effect, I think that's a good thing to do. It's a good call. But how much more subsidy are we going to keep releasing? These are short-term measures, which is needed. Undoubtedly, we need it as Charles. We just need it to pull down the downstream. All right. But remember, we don't have to take ourselves back to the price control era and situation whereby we don't have deregulation. I think deregulation has done a fantastic job for us. However, when there have been some shortfalls within deregulation, especially the massive taxes that we have placed on the price buildup, that has paralyzed deregulation. I'm not saying that we should castigate deregulation and put it into the bucket and throw it away. No.
All right.
Deregulation has helped the downstream. It's the one that is contributing to about 6% of our GDP at the downstream side, which is phenomenal. So yes, subsidies are very good at this moment. Government should work out a credible strategy where we can use the balance and cool down the pumps so that the consumer can get some breathing space. That will help a lot. I mean, it will help the entire economy of the nation. Yeah.
Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, we're grateful. Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, petroleum expert, there helping us appreciate his assessment of global events related to crude and the need for governments to intervene. Of course, this afternoon, a large section of traders are increasing their goods by 80% in response to the reduction in benchmark values from 50 to 30%. The General Secretary of the Traders Advocacy Group Ghana will join us shortly, but first listen to one address to the media over the issue. Let's get in touch rather with Nana Opoku, the General Secretary of Traders Advocacy Group, to help us appreciate the motive behind their move. We're grateful that you could join us. What is informing this decision, especially when we've had the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, praise government for what it calls a win-win situation?
Thank you, Charles, for having me this afternoon. And I extend warm greetings to every trader out there. Sometimes you journalists, you try to put our heads together. We have Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, we have GUTA. These are all trade organizations. It is like NAGRAD, that. GUTA doesn't pretend on all traders. Let me emphasize this. Sometimes you try to, mix the whole reaction.
No,
Traders
I beg your
Group
pardon. I
Ghana.
beg your pardon. We're not mixing it. Of course, we'd have to add some background to whichever statement that we make.
Then
And
please
my background to the question to
our
you
release.
is the
I
fact
beg
that
of you.
Guta as a trading community, highly recognized. We've had Guta sit on various boards, government interventions and not. State the fact that it's a win-win situation. Now, your advocacy group says that, of course, you're going to be increasing it by 80%. And we want to appreciate what is informing this move.
Out there is supposed to capture what we are about to discuss.
All right, so help us appreciate, sir, what exactly is informing your move to increase prices by 80%?
Thank you very much. Definitely, the global trends are not all that good for every trader in Ghana. Currently, traders are suffering. We do appreciate the fact that we are not in good times, but we also cannot look unconcerned for our capitals to just get lost anyhow. As the government steps forward to make more money out of traders, traders must also have to work out the computations and then get the actuals on what we invest, because we cannot import things into the country and at the end of the day be on the losing side. We are not ready to get to that level, because currently the support systems that should put traders on high alert for us to be more domestic bound to sell the things that we produce is not there. So no matter what, we have to import into the country and then make sure that we can make something out of it. And currently, as you attest to it, dollar is now moving to 7 point something right now. Everything is on the ascendancy. So traders cannot sit back and say, oh, we are going to be charitable like we've been doing all these years and then just get our capitals lost. No.
When will the increase take effect?
It has already been effected since 1st March 2022.
I want to find out from you, was your advocacy group part of the engagement between the Finance Ministry and other stakeholders regarding the benchmark values?
Indeed, yes. We were at Alisa Hotel. We actually contributed to the discourse and what we expect them to do. We were actually looking for systematic increment, not to that move. And even, sorry, the way they came out with such a percentage wasn't all that good to us. Because whilst the commissioner was still engaging people in Kumasi, I mean traders, various trade organizations in Kumasi, the minister sought to come out with a percentage which they want to take, which in a way you could see that government machinery is not talking to each other. The commissioner was trying to establish one thing or the other to make sure that this is the way we are going. It's as if you've already put together the percentage you are going to take. Then why then you have to spend taxpayers' money engaging traders? This is where it doesn't go well with us. Fine, it is their decision. So that we've also come out with the things that will benefit us.
But you know, I'm just kind of trying to find a level ground here, because we have also spoken with the Importers Association, and they're very much positive about this particular move by governments to reduce it by 30%. Once again, they're describing this as a win-win situation. Where do you come in, especially when you are so much against the reduction in the benchmark values, even though you have some of your members, some traders actually tell us live on television that it is a positive move that government has taken?
Thank you, Charles. The Traders Advocacy Group is made up of importers, exporters, wholesalers, retailers, the tabletop vendors, and then the street vendors. We are the only association in Ghana that have been successful putting all traders on a database. So I am speaking to over 10,000 traders whom we sought their views and then come out and speak. We don't just come out and say what we say. There are so many trade organizations who are not well organized, and at the end of the day, they come out and put statements out there. We are not doing that. We are leading multitudes of traders, and what they feel, that comes to the head office of Traders Advocacy Group of Ghana, and then we put it out there. So it is not just we are making it up. It has taken effect.
All right.
Any member of TAG and any trader who thinks that the 70% benchmark value is affecting him or her is also putting on to make sure that they stay in business. So we are not just talking in vain or just putting statements out there in vain. We know what we are talking about. And we are on the grounds. I myself, I'm a trader. Despite being the general secretary of the group, I myself am a trader. And being a trader, I know how it feels. Currently, look at the dollar situation. Look at how things are changing, in the realm of commerce. We cannot sit back. We need to get our people so comfortable of doing business in the country.
Nana Opoku, we're grateful that you could join us, and of course we shall follow up on your concerns. Here's with the Traders Advocacy Group, and of course helping us appreciate the fact that they have increased their prices by 80% in response to the reduction in benchmark values from 50 to 30%. You're still watching the marketplace. Still to come in the bulletin, as the Russia-Ukraine conflict impact the price of fertilizer, we ask, is it a threat to food security? We'll find out from the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana.
Happening in the international market, Russia being a country that produces a lot of fertilizers, will support of Ukraine and other countries. And the imminent war, that is all over the whole world, supplies will be a challenge.
Yeah, welcome back. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture is projecting this year as a difficult one for government's flagship program, the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. According to the lead director of the program, Seth Osei-Akoto, the ministry was not able to meet the target for the distribution of fertilizer last year. Now, the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine is going to pose an even greater challenge, as Russia is a leading producer of fertilizer. We'll get a thought to the Chamber of Agribusiness in Ghana on this one shortly, but first, take a listen to Mr. Akoto, who spoke at the Soil Health Stakeholder Forum organized by the Israeli Embassy.
Price of fertilizer is set to spike due to the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia was the world's largest exporter of nitrogen products or planting fertilizer in 2021. This, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is forecasting, will affect output of Ghana's Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. Here's Director at Crop Services Directorate, Seth Osei-Akoto.
The volumes of fertilizer that you thought you could distribute last year, you couldn't achieve that. And what is happening in the international market, Russia being a country that produces a lot of fertilizers, with support of Ukraine and other countries. And the imminent war, that is all over the whole world, supplies will be a challenge. And as a ministry, we have anticipated that based upon what happened last year. So instead of putting all our eggs in one basket, you are trying to expand the organic base.
We're joined by Director of Policy and Research at the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, Kojo Ahiagba. We're grateful that you could join us. What do you make of this worrying situation coming from the Agri Ministry?
Thank you very much, Bernard, team.
Great. Of course. Want to find out from you, your thoughts. You're listening to the Agri Ministry say the fact that fertilizer prices escalating in the world market. This could really impact the Planting for Food and Jobs program, especially when value chains are going to be disrupted. How do you respond to this?
Thank you very much. Yes, certainly with the ongoing crisis in Russia and Ukraine, and with subsequent sanctions from all parts of the world on Russia, certainly we expect a sort of a global shortage of not only fertilizer, but other commodities that emanate from that area. And that certainly raises concern about growing food costs across the world. And certainly Ghana, as part of the global village, cannot be an exception to this. Russia, as you know, is a low-cost, high-volume global fertilizer producer, and is the second largest world producer of potash, which is a critical ingredient used in major fertilizer productions across the world. And when that happens, with frequent and even more sanctions being added, definitely global fertilizer supply chains are going to be disrupted. And when that happens, we will be highly hit by this situation that keep on worsening day in and day out in Ukraine. Beyond this, the prices of fertilizer also keeps on going up as a result of rising cost of major products across the country, like the recent fuel hikes, the recent cost of energy. There are also, in terms of utility prices, are also going up, and all that add up to the cost of fertilizers and other agro inputs. That will really affect the agribusiness sector. And as the Planting for Food and Jobs program, that heavily depend on NPK fertilizer, which potash happens to be one of the major ingredients of this product, is certainly going to affect the program.
Indeed, but could this be a threat to food security? And if so, what remains the practical way out?
Yes, certainly these fertilizer prices will hit high this year, especially on supply chains, especially in the fertilizer supply chains. And if the energy costs keep on rising, the supply is going to be hiking further. Expensive fertilizer costs means that it will limit the application of fertilizer, especially in the Planting for Food and Jobs program, and even for smallholder farmers who make up a chunk of our farmers across the country. What it means is that in the coming months, we should be expecting some level of food shortages and some food security situations across the country. And when that keeps on happening, there will be a need for government to step into more proactive programs and policies that will be able to cushion the fertilizer supply chain, like waiving of certain tariffs on certain types of fertilizers, and even major ingredient for major assemblies. There are companies in Ghana that kind of formulate the fertilizers, source the raw materials from countries like China, countries like Morocco, for instance. The OCP company, for instance, have one of the largest reserve of potash. And if that happens, we have to rely heavily on that. One of the things we can also do is also looking at, just like the director of the program mentioned, is also look at more promoting the organic formulation of biofertilizers.
All right.
So we'll be able to cushion the shortfall and the effect of the supply chain disruptions.
Many thanks for joining us, Kojo Ahiakpa, the Director of Policy and Research at the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. And that's how we wrap up this edition of The Marketplace. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com, where you can see our major business stories. The price of LPG to go up by 5% from today. Well, my name is Charles Aite. Pleasure being with you. Let's do same tomorrow. Please enjoy the rest of our bulletins.